Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian Martin with your daily Manchester United news show. So, the headline, the thumbnail, Ruben is wrong. Ruben is wrong. Ruben is wrong. How do you Sorry, that was too much fun. How do you see Ruben Amorim right now, particularly on this latest story, which supposedly there were some comments made about or to Manuel Ugarte from Ruben Amorim. Supposedly, and again, this is like not secondhand, not third, fourth, fifth. I mean, this is like far removed from the source, right? So supposedly, Ruben Amorim said something to Ugarte to the effect of, "You're not the player you were at Sporting." If you recall, Ruben Amorim worked with Manuel Ugarte at Sporting. Um, I think Ruben's maybe wrong on this one. Again, I didn't watch Manuel Ugarte at Sporting. Let's just be honest. What was this, 3, 4 years ago? But just looking at the stats, Ugarte has more goal involvements and assists here at United than at Sporting. So maybe Emmer means in a different capacity. Maybe, Ugarte was winning more tackles, or maybe he was playing more forward passes. I don't know. But that seems like, at least from looking at the goal oriented stats, like maybe, you know, inaccurate if Ruben Amorim said it. Again, a big if on Ruben Amorim saying that. This supposedly came from some live podcast, and even the person there reporting it supposedly tweeted it and then took it down. So all kinds of weirdness around it. Honestly, the biggest shocking thing about Ugarte is that he's only 24 years old, which I've said before. I thought that guy was like 28, 29. He is 24. He's just moved around quite a bit because he went from Sporting to, I think it was PSG, and then to United. I think it was that order. Was there a team in between PSG and United? I think it was Sporting, PSG to United. Um, he was at PSG for a year. He was at Sporting for 2 years. He's been at United for a couple of years now. So he's moved quite a bit. Um, but yeah, it just seems like he's been around longer, and he seems like he's older than he is. He's 24. So, as I said in the previous video, that kind of buys him a little bit of time in my eyes, just a little bit. I know it's been a couple years, and he hasn't shown, a ton of. He isn't he isn't Casemiro region, right? He's not Casemiro region. Um, but I might give him another year or so, seeing that he's 24. Um, sometimes for some players, it's gonna be a time where they suddenly just click and everything just, starts flowing, and like they're fully grown into their body, and they just start playing a lot better. So I'd give him another year, Ugarte. Um, again, like I said, given his age, and he can tackle. And I've seen him make some smart forward passes, but he looks lost. Like, I don't know if it's just the look on that he carries on his face. Maybe he has a resting lost face, lost face. I don't know, but he just looks perpetually lost. Sorry, I keep looking at this bug that's crawling on my wall over here. It's driving me nuts. Sorry, I had to grab that. Anyway, I don't know if he just looks perpetually lost, if that's just the way he looks, but like he seems like he's not quite sure. And so I wonder if, that is part of the challenge with Manuel Ugarte, is that he's just not quite settled, right? Again, it's only been a couple years. He's 24, so he's not, on the wrong side of 30 or anything like that. He's not brand new, but he's still, youngish, I would say, still youngish. So yeah, I think Ruben's wrong on that one. I'm not saying Ugarte is our answer in midfield by any means, but I think he's wrong to say that he's not the player that he was at Sporting. It seems like he's an improved player. Um, but honestly, all this to say, remember a few shows back, I think we were talking about the potential takeover, and I said to buckle up for stories like this because we are on one game a week, and right now, uh, we're in the international break. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Like I said it before, just buckle up for more stories like that. I don't know. We don't know that Ruben Amorim even said that to Ugarte. It could be coming from anywhere. So I'm just reporting it because it's in the news, and every other YouTuber's thumbnail has Ugarte in it, including myself. So just saying, as I said before, buckle up for more stories like that. Moving on to Casemiro. So he is out of contract in June 2026. As you know, he is either the highest or second highest earner at Manchester United. He's on over 300K a week. God, that's so much money. So much money. Oh, so many things I could do with that money. Anyway, he's on 300K a week or more. There's talk of extending him by 1 year. Now, again, to the question, Ruben is wrong. Ruben is wrong. I don't know that it would be wise to extend Casemiro for another year. I mean, he is a great professional. He reads the game well. He just doesn't have the legs to do it anymore. And I feel like even in the 6 or so games this season, I've seen him lunge in for even more silly tackles because he doesn't have the legs to run back and cover defensively. Um, I mean, if anything, I'd almost play him in a more advanced role where he doesn't have to cover defensively and then put like, I don't know, Ugarte back there or something. I don't know. I know it sounds crazy, but Casemiro, he can pass the ball and he can shoot and he can get on the end of headers, right? He still got that in his locker. Uh, but he can't cover defensively anymore. So I would not extend him by another year contract wise, but if we did, it'd have to I'd have to change tactically and put him further forward up the pitch, or use him in a game where the other team's sitting in a low block and he doesn't have to sprint back very often, um, and he has to have a wage cut, right? We'd have to cut those wages down to like 220 a year or something, or not a year. That would be great. 220 a year, 220 a week, right? Because right now, like I say, he's on 300K plus. So those are the two things I would change, right? If we're going to extend Casemiro, he's gotta he can't do the defensive role anymore. He's got to play further up the pitch some kind of way. Um, Maybe he's a specialist for teams that have a low block potentially, um, and he takes a wage cut. Again, call me crazy, but that's just what I think. That's just what, according to the eye test, that's what I see. Because like I said, he's lunging in for too many silly tackles, and he's already got himself sent off once, and I just see more of that happening because he doesn't have the legs to cover. Now, moving on to Kobbie Mainoo. So, as I said before, and as you've seen in the papers and online, um, Napoli is the front runner to try and pry Kobbie Mainoo away in a few months' time here in January. Now, a new name has emerged, a big name, Real Madrid. Uh, I feel like that was whispered towards the end of the summer. Kobbie Mainoo to Real Madrid, but apparently it's back, and the talk of that is ramping up. Now, you look at Real Madrid's midfield; they've got Tchouaméni, Valverde, Bellingham, Güler in there. They play a 4-2-3-1, which would probably suit Kobbie Mainoo better. I think it would suit all of United players better. But I mean, he's going to have to, fight Tchouaméni or Valverde for one of those two deeper midfield positions, or he's going to have to fight Bellingham or Güler to play just behind Mbappe. Now, I mean, could you see Kobbie Mainoo at Real Madrid? I mean, sure, I could see him rocking the jersey. uh, but I feel like all those players that I named are faster than him. And I know I've caught flack for it. A lot of people have caught flack for it. Kobbie Mainoo is not a center midfielder. He needs less space to cover, right? Not saying he's not talented. He's a supremely talented footballer over short distances, and things like that. And he can pass, he can attack well, all that good stuff. He can shoot. We all know that. But in terms of the legs to get around the sort of the pitch, no. And at Madrid, who's a pretty fast team, I don't know that he would do so well there. Um, Even sitting in one of those deeper, two midfield roles, right? I don't know, but again, it's in the papers, it's in the in the media, so I'm reporting it. I think that between Mainoo and Xerxes. I've said this probably every day now since the news came up. If I had to let one go, it would be Mainoo in January. I'd rather keep Xerxes. Um, in the roles that Mainoo is being used in, we've got numbers, but Xerxes being used as a striker. If Sheshko goes down, we've got what Mason Mount, or we call Cheeto from the under 23s or under 22s, whatever he's at, wherever under 20s, wherever he's playing. He's 17 years old. You don't have much there. So if you were to let one go between Mainoo and Xerxes, it would be Mainoo in my book, who I would let go. But again, these Real Madrid links, I don't know that he fared much better at Real Madrid. But again, watch the space. January could be hot, could be very cold. Speaking of transfer speculation, so Matteo Retegui is a new name that has popped up. He is at Al Qadsiya. Apologies if I butchered that. 26-year-old striker, was previously at Atalanta. Apparently, he had 28 goals and 9 assists in 49 appearances at Atalanta. So it sounds like a pretty good goal scoring record. So I'm going to assume he probably went to the Saudi Pro League for the money. Let's just be honest. Would you take Retegui or Retegi, not sure how you pronounce it, at Manchester United? Another striker, 26 years old, pretty decent goal scoring record. Probably, yeah. Yeah. Um, but the price tag is like 50 million or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know what his stats are right now at Al Qadsiya. Actually, let me see. I'm just gonna look that up really quickly. Mateo. Let's see what his stats are. Al Qadsiya. Huh, 4 matches, 3 goals. The guy scores goals. The guy scores goals. For Atalanta last season, yeah, 49 appearances, and yeah, 28 goals, 8 assists. So I mean, 6'1". I'd take him. Yeah, I'd take him. 50 million. Yeah. Um, just seeing what else there is about him. Yeah, yeah, I would take that. I would do that deal. Yeah, Matteo Retegui or Retegui, however you pronounce it properly, in Italian. Um, I'd take him 50 million with that goal scoring record. He's doing it. He's done it at Atalanta. He's doing it for Italy. He's doing it now in Al Qadisiyah in Saudi Pro League. Yeah, why not? I mean, we need players apart from Sheshko to try and score goals for us up top, right? Like again, Xerxes the only other striker, quote unquote, that we have. And if he goes in January, we've got no backup for Sheshko unless you, like I said, you call up Cheeto from the kids. And again, he's 17. So are we going to have like Hoyland 2.0 where we put someone who's too young to be leading the line up there to lead the line? And then, we destroy their confidence and then they go on to another team and suddenly they flourish, right? So I'd take Matteo at Manchester United at this point for 50 million with that goal scoring record. Um, Moving on, of course, there's all the Adam Wharton talk. Like I said, the gentleman's agreement to leave Palace, valued over 100 million pounds, because that's the arbitrary amount that these clubs love to slap on their players who suddenly have a good spell or a good season and they're young, right? Just like I said, 100 million pounds. There you go. Anyway, apparently none of this is happening in January. I mean, I didn't think it was, but this is according to Fabrizio Romano in his YouTube channel podcast thingy mabob. He said that yes, there's a lot of interest in Adam Wharton, as we've seen, but nothing's happening in January. I don't think any of you thought that. I didn't think that. So we move on from that. Summer could be a different story. But January, no. Elliot Anderson. How did he play yesterday for England? Let me see. Someone let me know if he played yesterday. I saw him against Wales and he looked great. But did he play yesterday? Let's see. And let me know if you watched or saw him play in the chat. Oh man, they smashed Latvia. Wow. Yeah, he did play. Okay, yeah, he started in the midfield with Rice and Morgan Rogers. Um, wow. Yeah, 5-0 for England yesterday. I didn't see him play yesterday. Like I said, I saw Elliot Anderson play in the Wales match, which I thought would be a more exciting game than it was. But over in the first half, I did it on my other channel, Football with Brian Martin. And yeah, again, I want to make that happen sooner than later. If he can be got in January, that would be great. But again, I doubt it. You know, his name's kind of blown up as well, so I don't see that happening until next summer, potentially. But I mean, he would be a great signing. Honestly, I would maybe take Anderson over Wharton. I don't know. I don't know. Call me crazy, but anyway, um, I think he might be cheaper than Anderson. I think he might be a little bit cheaper than Wharton. But again, like I said, after these international games and whatnot, he comes back, suddenly he's going to be over 100 million pounds too. So, anyway, Conor Gallagher, he's who, you know, I think might come in January. I know the talk has quieted down around him, um, but I think he might be the guy who we end up getting in January. Um, Supposedly, I'm just looking at this article now on Yahoo where, a loan deal is unlikely, as Atletico Madrid have responded to Conor Gallagher, some sort of loan deal there. Um, Someone says that I'm told reports about a possible deal to take Conor Gallagher to Manchester United are inaccurate. The player is not looking to force a move, and Atletico Madrid would only consider a permanent deal for 40 million euros. Um, Apparently, Palace had a loan approach decline where Gallagher was loaned to before. Quick comment here. Hi, Brian. My first time here. What do you think about the story from the Mail today? United offering Casemiro a new contract if he drops his wages. So yeah, so I started the show talking about that actually, and we'll just jump back here really quick, folks, for the folks who've been watching. So the two things with Casemiro: one, yeah, he absolutely needs to drop his wages if he's going to continue. Two, and this is just my crazy, crazy idea. We're in Brian world for a second. He's got to play further up the pitch. I don't trust him defensively anymore. I've seen him, and we saw over the years more and more, lunging tackles, right? A few more yellow cards. He's already got a red this season, right? So I don't trust him defensively anymore. Although I still think he has plenty to offer attacking. He sprays the ball well. He gets on the end of headers. He can shoot, right? He's smart on the ball. So it's almost like, I'm not gonna say he should be a 10. I'm not gonna say that, but if we were to set up our midfielders and have one obviously be more attacking, I could see him doing that kind of role for us. But defensively, nah, he's past it now. So he could stay for another season. Again, if he cuts his wages down to like 200, maybe 220 a week. I mean, going any lower than that, he probably just says no and he walks away. And even 200, 220 is probably a stretch. So if he cuts his wages down to something like that, and then tactically we don't rely on him defensively anymore. Those are the two things that I would say about Casemiro. But thank you for getting yeah, I'd keep him for another year because there's also that leadership aspect, right? I think he's one of the quiet leaders in the dressing room, and you need that for a team that's going to compete for things, right? Like, you know, yes, you can have a team of superstars, but you need people to lead the way, people who have done there, who have been there, who have tread those paths. So I'd keep him under those two conditions: lower wages, and we change tactically to not rely on him defensively. We put him maybe in a position where he's a little bit further up. But those are the only ways I'd keep him. If we were to play him the same way and not reduce his wages, then he's got to go. Absolutely got to go. Those are my thoughts um, on that. But let me just jump back into this Conor Gallagher stuff, though. So apparently, um, he's not looking to force a move away, and Atletico, you know, they aren't willing to part ways with him. We'll see. We'll see. I got a funny feeling about that Conor Gallagher one. Carlos Baleba, let me know what you think about him because he's been up and down and up and down, and he had this breakout season last season, and then this year he hasn't started so well. Again, I've been saying that his head was turned by Manchester United, and now he's having a bit of a fit, right? Some have said, well, that shows a lack of professionalism, but at the end of the day, if he comes to United and regains his form and does well for us, then I could care less, honestly, if he throws a fit right now at Brighton. We get what we can out of him, then we ship him on once we've, you know, gotten what we needed out of him, right? That's just the business. So, you tell me what you think about this whole Baleba situation, but, you know, could he come to United summer? I definitely don't think January. Although apparently there was a rumor that he asked to be, transferred in January. But again, I think that's just, fallout from the summer of him being, what's the word, chased by United, but not getting his move, and now he's upset, right? So, what do you think about Baleba? Again, I think summer. I don't think January. Um, I think that's just a massive outlay for a January signing. I mean, think about it. What major signings? When I say major, I mean, like over 100 million pounds have come in January. I can't think of anybody, so I don't think it's going to happen in January. And then for like the fiscal year, it doesn't really quite line up. Um, we don't need sulkers. We don't. But I mean, again, if he's going to come and do a job though for Manchester United, then like I said, I don't mind it. From a business perspective, right? From a personal perspective, yeah, I'm like, all right, dude, like your attitude sucks. We don't want that here. But if he's gonna show up and show out and do well and play well, then all right, like, and if that helps us get a better price for him from Brighton, then yeah, okay, I'll take it. Um, no, I appreciate the comments though. Let me know what else, because again, I'm just kind of like riffing a bit here, because to be honest, there's not like a ton of news today. And so I try not to like drag you guys through, long, long, long spiels about nonsense or nothing news. I'll report it, but I'll give my 2 cents on it. But let me know what you guys think. There's talk of Job Bellingham again. Jude Bellingham's brother, um, struggling at Dortmund right now. Um, I mean, Job Bellingham. Again, haven't watched him play. Uh, I mean, I don't like the rumors about his parents, and the reason why I don't. So at Dortmund, they had the problem with Gio Reyna before, if you remember, right? Remember Gio Reyna and his parents having falling out at Dortmund, and then there were rumors of Job Bellingham's parents doing the same. I am squeamish about that, being an American and having played in the youth leagues here, and just knowing how like parent power, right? You've heard of player power, but parent power, how that can get out of hand and just destroy teams and players. Um, so yeah, I'm a little bit like standoffish on that. Once I hear about someone's parents getting too involved, I'm like, I don't know. Um, but then again, too, he's struggling to get playing time at Dortmund, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad player. I mean, look at Kobe Mainoo, right? Not getting playing time here at United, but definitely a quality player. We've all seen it. So could be a pickup, you know, could be someone we stay away from. Um, DJ Darkest Night says, Anderson, for me, I like his dedication and engine, only cost 50 million or so. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier too. I like Elliot Anderson. I watched him in the Wales match. I didn't watch him yesterday against Latvia because I knew that was going to be kind of a wash, right? For England. But I watched him in the Wales match, and I was very, very impressed. I mean, yeah, like I agree. I think he could be the better pickup over a Wharton or Baleba or any other names I just mentioned, for a lot less. But then again, because he's playing well, here comes that $100 million price tag. I almost guarantee it, right? Like, let's say he goes back now that the international break is just about over, has another few good games for Forest, and then suddenly we're talking, oh, $100 million for, Elliot Anderson, because again, that's the arbitrary price that these teams just love to throw on their talented players. Um, so yeah, let me just jump very quickly because I do cover all things Manchester United. Very quickly. So the women's team, they have a women's Champions League match tomorrow against Atletico Madrid. I'm going to cover that. You guys have turned out and been amazing for the women's matches. Um, I don't want to spoil my match preview because I'm going to drop one today. I've not seen one done before for the women's team, so I'm going to do that. You're going to see it here. Um, so yeah, match preview for that coming up later today. So stay tuned, subscribe. This is a great season for the women. I think we could be clinching the WSL title at some point. So if you're not paying attention, pay attention. We're firing on all cylinders on the women's front, and we look amazing. So I don't want to spoil my match preview, so I'm just going to say a little bit about it, and then I'm going to jump back to the men very quickly. Yeah, October 19th, Liverpool. What are your predictions? What do you think? What do you say? I think I think we draw. Yeah. Definitely gonna follow ladies and watch along. I've been doing watch alongs for the ladies. Like honestly, I've gotten way bigger turnouts for the women's matches, and it's been great. Like the interaction, the conversation, the support. I love it. I love it. I'm not one of those guys who's like men's football only. Like I cover it all. I try to cover it all here for Manchester United men and women. On my other channel, Football with Brian Martin, I cover all things football there as well, men and women. It's when I try and pry myself away from Manchester United stuff on that channel, Football with Brian Martin. So check that out. Link in the description below. Please do subscribe there as well. Um, um, but yeah, so back to the men though. Liverpool. I think that we draw. I think we draw. I think the players come back to United feeling good, right? We had that Sunderland result to take us into the break. We come back feeling good off of that. And, Liverpool, they've been kind of poor by their standards lately, right? Questions starting to swirl around Arne Slot. Is he a fraud? Um, so I think we get a draw there. I think we get a draw. I think we get a draw against Liverpool. Now, I haven't touched on it in a couple shows, so I'm going to come back to it, right? Sir Jim Ratcliffe publicly backed Ruben Amorim. And so since, DJ Darkest Night, since you're here, I'll ask you, since you've been participating in the chat and really appreciate it. Do you think that public backing of Ruben Amorim was all talk, or do you think that Sir Jim is really going to give Amorim a full 3 years, which we're almost a year into, so 2 more years essentially? Do you think Amorim gets 2 more years at the helm? Ask you that question. I'll ask the others who are watching as well that question. Do you think Amorim gets two more years? And let's just say we continue as we started, and that the Sunderland win was kind of, I wouldn't say a fluke, but we continue to struggle, right? Do you think that Sir Ratcliffe and the board are going to say, you know what? I don't care that we're losing, we're not performing well. We're going to stick with Amorim and we're going to back him, right? What do you think about that? Again, I know I haven't touched on it in a while. Yeah. So you jumped ahead for what I was setting up. So yes, the dreaded vote of confidence. I love the way you put that, because that's what I said before. Again, I try to stay away from it for a couple shows. But yeah, that's what I think. I think it's the dreaded vote of confidence. I feel like we've seen this in the past with other managers where the board comes out and they back them publicly, and months later you're seeing breaking news, so and so has been sacked, right? um that's what I think too. I totally agree. I think it's the dreaded vote of confidence. So I'm worried now. Again, I have been Ruben Amorim out since Grimsby Town. I said it plainly there, and I haven't waffled on it. I've also clearly said that, there's blame to go around. It's not just Ruben's fault. I've said this, so just putting it out there for those watching. Um, you know, but I have been Ruben Amorim out So I wouldn't be opposed to the change. Who I would bring in, I've got no idea. I've got no idea. But, I don't think that's a fair argument to stick with Ruben Amorim, right? It's kind of like in a relationship. Your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, like things aren't going well and there's bad signs there, but you say, "Oh, I'm going to stick with them because who else am I going to replace him with?" Well, that's a terrible idea, right? That's a terrible idea. Like you got to cut ties if things aren't going well, right? And there's bad signs and no signs of improvement and the person is saying, "I'm not going to change." Probably should walk away from that, right? So that's my concern with Ruben Amorim, and that's why I've been Ruben Amorim out. The results and then the statements of "I'm not going to change." Those are worrying because he might have a way he wants to play, but we're not getting the results, and that's hurting the club image. That's hurting the club financially, right? Um, because depending on where you place, um, you get more money in the Premier League, right? So obviously you win it, you get the most money, and further so forth down and so on. And so obviously there's also money that you get when you get into things like the Champions League or Europa League or the Conference League, whatever. And if we're not getting that, you know, it's like self-defeating, right? We keep Amorim stays to prove a point. We keep losing. We're not placing in any European competitions. We're placing low in the Premier League standings. We're not getting the money. So how can he be back to get the players he wants if we're not bringing in money, right? It's kind of one of those things. So, um, yeah, Diego Simeone. Yeah, Simeone maybe, but isn't he like the highest paid manager right now? Isn't he on some like crazy money? I mean, I think he would go in there and kick a lot of butts around. I think you see a lot of bruised egos. You probably see some more defensive football, which is what he likes to play. But I mean, if he gets us the W's, then I really don't care how it looks, right? Like I want to see us lifting trophies and in and amongst it. But I think he'd cost a lot of money. I think he would cost a lot of money. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Simeone I think he's the highest paid manager or like right up there. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I mean, maybe he's the guy that we need, right? I mean, people were saying, "Oh, we'd love to see Keane in the dressing room or Roy Keane in the dressing room." Well, you got Simeone, who, to me has a similar personality, right? Kind of a hard nosed guy, so might be just what we need here at United. Um, but yeah, so I don't have much else for you. Like I said, trying not to go on and on and on and on and on. I know you guys got things to do today. But yeah, I'm going to drop the match preview for the women here in a little bit. I got to record it first, got to do a little research, try and be educated in the things that I say. Um, and yeah, I appreciate you guys rocking with me for this live show, and I appreciate the support. Like I'm new to this whole YouTube thing, kind of sort of. So it's exciting for me, right? This is cool. This is cool. Like even like if one of you is just commenting, it's exciting for me, right? And I do it because I love it. So um I'm gonna wrap it up there. But like I said, look out for the women's Champions League match preview. And then of course tomorrow I will do a watch along or a match watch as I call it. And then same thing for the men, right? For Liverpool, I will do a match preview on the 18th, and then the 19th for the game, I'll be doing a watch along or a match watch. So I will catch you on those, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this morning. See you in the next one. Peace.